Assalamu alaikum. Hello and welcome to the News and Culture Show with me, Laura Condat, and my co-host Paul Cooper.
Assalamu alaikum, folks. Hope everyone's well.
Just a little bit about the News and Culture Show. We talk about all the latest news from across Luton, as well as arts, culture and events, so you can go out and have some fun in this amazing town. But yeah, how have you been, Paul?
Yeah, not too bad. Just I've not been sleeping well. Headaches and the usual stuff.
Usual things.
Yeah,
it's the weather, I think.
Looking forward when we finish for my afternoon sleep.
Yep, if you don't know, the minute Paul gets out of this recording, he goes straight for an afternoon nap. The joys of being semi-retired, because you're not fully. I don't think you can call yourself fully retired anymore.
I work from 9:30 to 12:30.
Yeah, so he does work, but you did retire, but then came out of retirement.
Only 15 hours a week.
Right. This week, we've got some positive stories, so I've tried to make it not all negative Nancy. So yeah, let's start with this.
I can't be honest, I'm struggling to remember the positive ones, but anyway.
I mean, Roy retiring. That's a sweet story. We'll get onto that later though.
Yeah. So
yeah, right, we'll start with this. A 50-year-old man has been jailed after Luton attack left teen with life-changing injuries. So Mohammed Hamdi, who was 50, who's previously from Luton. He was identified by the police as a getaway driver in a pre-planned attack in the early hours on June the 2nd in 2022. So this attack happened a long time ago.
Yeah, it's 3.5 years ago.
Yeah. So emergency services were called after a teenager was found unconscious in the road beneath a railway bridge on Telford Way in Luton. He was initially thought to be the victim of a hit and run, but had suffered a traumatic brain injury not consistent with a car crash. So as a result, they trawled CCTV in the area, and nearby on Crawley Road, you can see the car park. There's a car park there. If you've driven down Telford Way, you'll know which car park we're talking about. That showed the moments leading up to the attack. The victim was seen getting into a car with an associate for a few minutes before they got out and walked off towards Telford Way. A BMW drove towards them, and 4 masked men with weapons, including baseball bats, jumped out. 2 of the men caught the victim under the bridge and attacked him just out of sight of the cameras, which is shocking because there's a lot of cameras around there. Yeah. I don't know if they've put more in as a result, but that area is particularly heavy and dense with CCTV cameras. So Hamdi, the driver of the BMW, drove Hamid, sorry.
Hamdi. Yeah, anyway, go on.
It's been a long week and it's only Tuesday. Hamdi. Hamid. Oh my God. Start again. Hamid.
Who is currently in prison for an unrelated matter, was found guilty at Luton Crown Court.
Lovely individual.
On Wednesday, February the 4th, of conspiracy to commit GBH and jailed for 10 years and 9 months. So this was the driver, but unfortunately, the 4 people that were in the car with him
remain unknown.
Yeah, so he's obviously been keeping his mouth shut.
Yeah. So they just to talk a little bit about what the victim suffered. This was a shocking and ruthless attack on a teenager carried out in clear planning and intent. The level of violence inflicted that has had a devastating and permanent impact on the victim's life. Despite life-saving surgery, he continues to live with severe and life-altering injuries, including significant memory loss, and faces challenges that no young person should ever have to endure. The consequences for him and his family are profound and long-lasting. I mean, if you do have any information about this, I do implore you to come forward, because, this young man has no idea what happened to him. And, life-altering injuries of someone that was essentially a teenager. Teenager is a very vast term. It doesn't specifically say how old he was when he was injured. He could have been as young as 14, 15 when this happened. And, it's just...
So that they've got no indication at all as to motive or was this a mistaken attack, or that they have no idea?
Absolutely no idea. They've tirelessly pieced together what happened that night, but their efforts are still continuing. They've done an extensive investigation to try and find these 4 men. I would like to point out another person was on trial at the same time, called Jasmine Outridge of Stafford Road in Bedford. But she was found not guilty at that trial. So yeah, it's they're obviously are investigating it thoroughly. I mean, I think when the victim has, you know, this significant memory loss and may not remember anything, it kind of makes it a lot harder to know what happens. But if you do have any information, please do come forward. Luckily, this getaway driver has been convicted. I mean, 10 years and 9 months says how severe this attack was, because he wasn't even committing the attack, he just drove them away. So that's a pretty hefty sentence for that. It says this attack was brutal and horrible.
Yeah, but they only got there because he was transported.
Yeah.
So he's hardly innocent.
I'm not saying he's innocent at all, and the fact that he's already in jail previously to this says that he's not an upstanding individual.
Yes, but clearly, since the police don't know who the 4 people that did the attack were, he's keeping his mouth shut. Isn't he?
Obviously, yeah.
So clearly his hands don't
not as clean as he claims them to be. So this is an interesting one. So Chiltern Learning Trust are a well-known trust in the town that run a number of schools, for example, Chorley Boys, Chorley Girls, Puttridge, Denby, Chiltern Academy. All of those schools come under Chiltern Learning Trust. They have been working for a number of years with another trust that's based in Milton Keynes called Inspiring Futures Through Learning, which is acronymed IFTL. IFTL. I'm not even going to try. I'm not going to try and pronounce that. Just IFTL. There we go. I'd like to point out I've got blocked here currently. This ear, I can't hear anything out of it. So
I'm quite happy. You're a lot quieter than you normally
are. Am I?
Yeah. So keep.
I've got this earphone in to see if I can hear myself. I feel like I'm trying not to shout and probably overcompensating as a result. Anyway, so these 2 trusts have worked collaboratively throughout the years for the best interests of our student and wider communities. This is from a press release from Chiltern Learning Trust. For several years of successive partnership, working together in a number of areas, including initial teacher training. Chiltern Learning Trust have a teacher training facility that is based in Chorley Boys, just off Chorley Boys, near there. And they're proud of their work that they've done together. So as a result, the trust boards of both the what are they called nowadays? Local, are they academy trusts? Is that a correct term now?
They call them MATs now, multi-academy trusts.
I can't keep up with this.
Yeah. So it was all. So both of them were already MATs, multi-academy trusts, but by merging that, they're going to merge
into one big. Essentially, the plan is they're going to merge into one big trust that will have schools all over Luton, Bedfordshire, and Milton Keynes. Because obviously, Chiltern Learning Trust has a number of schools already outside of Luton and Central Bedfordshire, including upper schools like Cedars Upper School is still part of them as well. So they believe that collectively bringing their trust boards together is the best way to further enhance our work and bring our multi-academy trusts together to deliver priorities that will move us forward together. There's a lot of talking about together. I am a CLT parent and I'm slightly concerned. I always find
I'm a former employee of CLT. So.
Are you a former employee of CLT?
Yeah.
I'm a CLT parent and I'm slightly concerned as and I thought I'd bring this up, and I'm hoping to get someone from the trust to come in and speak about this, because I know it affects a lot of our listeners. A lot of our listeners are parents of children that go to CLT trusts, schools. As long as these 2 multi-academy trusts have similar views, because I like sending my child to a CLT. So basically, before my child's school was part of a CLT, the CLT Multi-Academy Trust, it was a very poor school. They became part of the trust and it has improved it drastically. And my only concern is that I don't want that school to go backwards. Mainly because I've got a child that's in year 5 that next year we're going to have to start thinking about where she's going to high school. I've enjoyed the fact that my other 2 have gone through this high school and had a really good time. You know, it's always a concern when, as a parent, I think when you hear, because this is such a minefield of education these days, because successive governments have taken away, like as we were speaking before the show, they've taken away the responsibility from the local authority when it comes to education and handed it to these trusts. I can't remember the year, but I know that every school has to become part of a multi-academy trust by a certain point and not be run by a local authority. So my question is, as long as things stay the same, my concern is, will Adrian Rogers continue to be CAO? Because I think he does a very good job. You know, will the schools continue to run as they are, or will there be major changes? Because I think they're very personally run very well. Obviously, I only know one school within the trust through my experience, but you know, as a parent, I can imagine there is concern when you read something like this, just because it's such an unknown. And if you don't work in the education industry like yourself, you don't really have experience, and this all feels for me, it feels very overwhelming. Very overwhelming. I don't know if you like to give your 2 cents as someone that is a teacher and has, not specifically about this trust, but just in general, what working for a trust is like.
I think in terms when you've already got a trust and you have this situation where trusts are becoming larger and larger, and in this case due to merger, my worry is first of all, how do you ensure over such a large organization the quality assurance? Also from experience, that they can be so large, even as a teacher you feel quite detached from the actual function of it. So I mean, I always remember, so you would often have a situation where you'd be sitting there at the start of the year and you'd have all of these people coming out and sitting in front of you, and they would announce, so this person's doing that, this person's doing that, and this person's doing that, and then you'd never see them again. Seriously, I'm not honest.
No, I know, I believe that.
And one, you know, and it wasn't just, and this was over a number of schools that I worked in. Yeah. So it wasn't just one that I saw. And I have to say, I was left thinking that, what is the relevance of these people?
I see. As someone that's never worked in education, but my mum has worked in education or did until she retired for 20 years, but she was support staff. And she, obviously, when the school was run by the local authority, she worked in her job. She didn't get many pay rises, but it was consistent. And the minute her school, because she worked in a school in Central Bedfordshire, and they specifically created this trust to keep the 3-tier system in Central Bedfordshire of lower, middle and upper, which is what I went through. Anyway, this trust was created, and suddenly my mum's job was then given to an external company, where she had to now be employed by an external company, no longer employed by the school, the local authority. And it was really tough for her, because she'd worked this role for 20 plus years, and she suddenly was forced to leave and still work there, but was expected to go to other schools within the trust and things like that. And I find that a lot of people are very wary about this, because, you know, we've seen in this town alone issues with other trusts. When Barnfield, do you remember when Barnfield created their multi-academy trust? Yeah, and then it went all down the pan within about 2 years. Because that was one I worked in. Oh, okay.
I did work there.
Yeah, which one? Barnfield West or South?
South.
Okay. That was the school I was supposed to go to, and then my parents were like, "No, we're moving you out of Luton," because it was South Luton back in my day. Now it's Stockwood Park Academy. I can't keep up with the name changes sometimes. There's so many schools in Luton have had so many name changes. I still refer to them as the old school names. But yeah. Yeah, I feel very overwhelmed by this as a parent. Just to let you know, if you are a parent, you want to go and ask questions, there is a full FAQ on the Trust website, so on Chiltern Learning Trust website. There is also going to be a drop-in for parents, carers, wider stakeholders, community partners. There's one in Milton Keynes if you can't attend the one in Luton between 5:30 and 7 p.m.
Has this been approved yet?
It hasn't. So this is their consulting parents, but I think it sounds very much like it's going to happen. Anyway, there's going to be one.
It's important, folks. If your children are there, and if you're not happy with anything, it's important that you make your voice heard. Because if you don't and you're unhappy, it will go through. If there's things that you are unhappy with and you protest, then you can make things better by delaying things until they get things right to your satisfaction, rather than just going ahead with it just simply because they can. This is one of the things that worries me about a lot of these things. It's just like, oh, because it's saying that they want to do this and this and this, and you have a situation where there are few people in terms of parents that have the ability to
be big
discern whether things are a benefit or not.
Yeah, to speak. Well, I think the problem is,
and I'm just saying from my own experience, that they will say that they're inclusive of what members of staff want, but my experience is they're not.
I think multiple governments over the last,
quite literally with these very large organisations, if you're the sort of person that speaks out on things, you will not last in these places 5 minutes. I had a situation with a colleague that I worked with, very, very competent person, who was actually the union rep, and this person was basically forced out because they just don't respond well to being challenged.
In a lot of parents' defence, as a parent,
and this is what concerns me with these places is that when you have a situation where a member of staff challenges them, you're just a little person, and there's no accountability in them. So when they decide that there's a situation, that there isn't a route in the organisation where you can get any independent assessment of what is really going on. They literally, as Donald Trump would say, they have all the cards.
You love speaking about Donny, don't you?
Oh yeah,
you're a big Donny fan.
I'm not.
Not in that way. Not in that way. But yeah, I think as a parent, though, I think it's become really difficult for parents to understand the educational system, because successive governments have made these changes and created things like multi-academy trusts that make it really hard for us to understand, especially if you're from the outside looking in, if you're not involved with the education system in that way.
What concerns me with these is ultimately that they're not businesses, but the way they're set up.
They operate like businesses.
The way they're set up and run, and everything is top down. There's no inclusivity in them at all with any of their members of staff. And the reason why I'm saying this, I'm old enough, when I went into teaching, schools were very inclusive. Any teacher, no matter what age or experience, if they wanted to get involved, even if you were a completely new member of staff, newly qualified, right at the bottom, if you want to get involved, you could go and take part on those committees in the school and learn how to do things. Now everything is top down, and this is what I'm saying, this whole model that has been adopted in education in the last 25 years, I really aren't convinced that it's help.
Well, we shall see. If you do have any concerns, you want to ask questions, there is both a option to go to Glebe Farm School, which is in Glebe Farm in Milton Keynes, on the 26th of February. There's also going to be one on the 3rd of February, 3rd of March, between 5:30 and 7 p.m. at Redgrave Children's and Young People Centre, which is in Marsh Farm.
And folks, do get involved. This is your kids.
Yeah.
And how these things work, if you don't get involved and listen to their arguments, why they want to merge, why they want to do these things, quite literally what will happen, it will go through and you'll have no control. And effectively, it removes accountability from what these trusts want to do. So I would definitely urge, if you've got parents in these organizations, folks, get involved. This is your kids.
It's your opportunity to give a voice.
This is the thing. There's very few things where you have the opportunity to have involvement that really means something. So go to these meetings, folks. Get yourselves involved, because if you find something that you don't like that these organizations want to do, you can change it. Hopefully, inshallah, you'll go there. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. I'm not.
I will just make it clear.
Hopefully, you'll go there, and maybe you will be very happy with their plans. But if you don't get involved, folks, then you won't know.
I just want to make it clear, like, I am a staunch. I think CLT are very good. As a CLT parent, I just want to make sure that it doesn't sound like we're bashing CLT here. We're not at all. I think it's the system in general is quite difficult to navigate for parents. It's difficult for teachers to navigate. Some trusts work really well, others don't. No. I think that's.
I mean, in fairness, when I worked for CLT, we're going back more than about 8 years ago. In fairness, you know, the people that managed me, I met some lovely people, and I can't sing their praises high enough. I did come across some really, really nice people. And that was why I was critical first, because the point is that consultations only work, folks, if you guys get involved. Otherwise, there's no point in them consultation. Everything just gets rubber stamped. Okay. And if there are even little things you're unhappy with, speak out and you can make things better. It's your children.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, you can sign up for.
So you're going to get involved, I see.
I am. I'm going to go. I'm going to go find out. I'm also going to read the FAQs, which they have on the Chiltern Learning Trust website, just to let you know. Yeah. We'll move on to this story, though this might drag until after the break, and we'll come back to this. We'll keep going with this because I think this is a really important thing, more so that people need to get involved with and need to go to this public meeting. So there's a public meeting coming up in Luton. There's also going to take place. One has already taken place in Flitwick, but it's on the 21st of February, and it's to do with cancer care. So currently, if you need radiotherapy and that you live in Luton, you know you will have to go to Mount Vernon Cancer Care Centre, which is currently based in Northwood, which is near. It's literally minutes away from where I used to live. I have been to. In fact,
where's Northwood?
So Northwood is just inside northwest London. It's in the borough of Hillingdon, but it's extremely close to Rickmansworth. Yes,
I'm with you now.
So
I've just remembered I've got an old student there. He's an imam now, is he?
Yeah, so it's very close to Rickmansworth, the M25. It's a lovely place, but it has Mount Vernon has been for years the cancer centre. However, the building is becoming extremely old. They need to rebuild for new purpose facilities and to basically improve cancer care because currently they can't provide all the cancer care that they do need to be able to provide there. So the plan is for Mount Vernon Cancer Centre is going to move to Watford from Northwood.
Well, that's better for us.
Yeah, so it's not just that. So basically, they're going to build a new purpose facility in Watford. It doesn't say whether it's going to be in Watford Hospital. I hope it isn't, because it's got a greght car park. The one thing I hate going to Watford Hospital, when I lived there, I hated going to Watford Hospital. But West Hertfordshire Trust car parks are fantastic. Watford Hospital has the best car park ever because it's multi-level. It's got hundreds, if not over 1,000 spaces, and you can always get a parking spot. It's not like the L&D where you're going around in a set.
It's not like that dinky little thing.
It's definitely not. It's huge. It's probably the same size as the new L&D building that they've just built. You know, the new facility with the surgical. It's huge. So I'll give Watford Hospital. It's the only thing I like about Watford Hospital. The rest of it is absolutely diabolical. But Watford Hospital's car park, second to none. Anyway, so they're going to move it, but they are going to open a second radiotherapy unit Now, this will either be at the Luton and Dunstable Hospital or at Lister Hospital
Or
at
at Lister and
Stevenage.
Stevenage. But again,
I know you say Lister's not that far,
well,
but
it's not. Stevenage isn't 1,000 miles away, is it?
it's not. But at the same time,
I mean, if it does go there, I mean, obviously, it's not convenient. But
I think I'm more thinking, because this is bearing in mind this new centres currently, if you live in Bedford and you're having cancer care, you have to go to Mount Vernon in Northwood. Under this new place, there'll be a second radiotherapy unit. I'm just thinking it would be more convenient for people living elsewhere in Bedfordshire to have it at Luton and Dunstable, because then Watford is also covering the whole of Hertfordshire and Stevenage is in Hertfordshire. So I think it would make more sense to have one radiotherapy unit in Hertfordshire and another one in Bedfordshire, which is something that we haven't had ever and is desperately needed, because currently, you know, if you're living in Bedford and you've got to travel to Northwood, that's a long drive.
You're making the assumption that they'll actually use logic for the decision.
No, I know they won't. That's why I'm imploring on people, because the more local residents that go to these meetings and say, we want it in Luton, we want this centre in Luton.
So when are they having a meeting on
So they're having a meeting about this on Saturday the 21st of February. It's between 10:30 a.m. and noon. We will come back to this after the break, though, and we'll continue this, because I think it's really important to talk about this further and how important this is. So join us after the break, but until then, Salam Alaikum.
Get Luton prayer and Jamaat times for your local masjid on your phone. Download the Inspire FM app. Available for free on the App Store or Google Play.
Salam Alaikum. Hello.
Salam, folks.
Welcome back to the News and Culture Show with me, Laura Condo, and my co-host, Paul Cooper.
Okay.
A little bit about the News and Culture Show. We talk about all the latest news from Luton, as well as arts, culture and events. So you can go out and have some fun. So we're back to the story that we were talking before
we're picking up the consultation for the treatment centre, the cancer treatment centre.
Bearing in mind, I want to point out a couple of things. This new Mount Vernon cancer unit is going to be part of the new Watford General Hospital, which is not due to start building until 2030, I believe. Off the top of my head, I know it's been pushed back by successive governments repeatedly, and it's been a huge issue for the people of Watford, because their facilities in West Hertfordshire are not that great. To be honest, having lived in West Hertfordshire for 5 years and had to use those hospitals, their facilities are awful. And when I had the option, I would come to the L&D through and through. I think a lot of people complain about the Luton and Dunstable Hospital. We don't know how good we have it here. Honestly, we don't.
To be fair, I've experienced things from the L&D from both sides. I actually did quite a bit of my medical training here.
Yeah, I also did a brief stint working. I've worked in the Luton and Dunstable. Did some training there as well.
I mean, it's a long time ago now.
Yes.
Yes, well, it was 30 years ago. But
mine's over 10. So
yeah. But some of the staff are still there from when I did my training, actually. Yeah, the quality of the treatment at L&D really is good. I've had a few operations there, and I've found their.
And I think we're leading.
Their standard of their care, nursing care, medical care, really excellent.
Yeah, we lead in this local area, and I think that's why Luton is the obvious option. Luton Borough Council's Scrutiny Health and Social Care Review Group has recommended councillors accept the relocation plans to Watford, while backing Luton as the preferred location for a network radiotherapy unit. Sorry, it was quite hard to say. And it's had someone who has had my dad's died of cancer, but he did have treatment at Mount Vernon because he did do radiotherapy. Yeah. And it was really tough for my mum to have to drive him down there every day. And I think if he had had the opportunity to be able to come to Luton and Dunstable and have, like, similar to how he had his chemotherapy there, to be able to come to Luton and Dunstable and have radiotherapy there would be life-changing for a lot of cancer patients in and around Bedfordshire. And I think that's, one thing that we should look at. I mean, currently...
Now, folks, there's an important meeting or questionnaire coming up which is face to face.
Mm.
So it's not this Saturday, it's the following Saturday. So Saturday, the 21st. And so it's in town, the University of Bedfordshire's Park Square campus in Luton. And so it's Saturday, the 21st from 10:30 till noon. So you can go along there and you can ask questions and give some input about this thing that's happening. And I mean, if we can make our case that we get it in Luton, that would be a big plus for us.
It would. I mean, I think people, having read through this article, they've acknowledged that Mount Vernon has been the specialist location for a number of years. It was, back in the day, it was considered incredibly advanced for the cancer care that they provided there, but it's just not got the quality buildings. It's a very old hospital. If you ever have been there, it's an extremely old hospital. They also have a private hospital on the site, which I've had to go to a few times for NHS care, weirdly. It's a very old site. It's not very suitable. The only benefit is you don't have to pay ULEZ if you go to Mount Vernon, just on that bit. It's ULEZ free. They've made it specifically ULEZ free because a lot of people are coming from Bedfordshire, Hertfordshire, don't drive in London. Why should they have to pay ULEZ? Because technically it's inside the London borough.
Oh, so Sir Sid made sure.
He did make sure of that. That's the one good thing. Well done, Sir Sadiq Khan.
Nice one, Sir Sadiq. I didn't know that.
But one thing I will say is that they have acknowledged that patients with blood cancer from Bedfordshire and Hertfordshire will have to continue their travel to UCL Hospital London, just for their treatment. You also can give your opinions online. There is, if you go on the Luton Today website, it's called mvccreview.nhs.uk, and you have until March 29th to give an opinion on this. So I do recommend, if you've got opinions, if you've ever had a family member or supported anyone that's been through cancer treatment, one in 3 of us will have cancer in our lifetime.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Which is it's a very high number. It's a scary number. And I think
that's because we're living longer, you see.
We are living longer, and I
think the longer you live, the more likely you're going to get it, because essentially it's a disease that happens because of errors that creep into your DNA code with time.
Or unless you're unfortunate to have very bad genetics, someone like me. Extensively bad genetics when it comes to that, but right. We're going to quickly run through this before our guest, because we think it's really important. You may have seen this story around. So comprehensive actions have been taken by a local business that is based in Luton Point after they were fined £20,000 for a 2024 mouse infestation at their Luton Point.
Remember, folks, when we say Luton Point, we mean the Arndale.
We do mean the Arndale. I'm just going off the article. Business operators and the business operator and its director were handed a hefty fine after serious food hygiene failings were found at 2 premises within the Luton Arndale.
I'm so glad that I never ate or drank at either of these places.
So Chai Link and Pizza Link were closed by the council back in October 2024 after a mouse infestation was found during inspections. Pink Eatery Limited, which ran both the businesses, now has a new director, and in its latest food hygiene inspection in April 2025, it was rated 4 out of 5 stars. Pizza Link is also now closed. That's
interesting though. It says a new director. It doesn't say a new owner though, does it?
So the current company director is called Sana Mole. He has done comprehensive corrective actions to address issues with food issues found by the inspectors, and is fully committed to upholding the highest standards of food safety, hygiene and customer well-being. So he said, according to an assessment provided by the pest control team, Pizza Link was structurally difficult to pest-proof. After thorough evaluation, the company made the difficult decision but difficult but necessary decision to close the premises permanently. So they basically couldn't make it pest proof.
Really?
So there was always that risk. Because if you think about it, where it was,
but there's other. That's the food. That's the food. Court.
That's the food court.
That's the food court bit,
which is concerning.
So if they can't make one unit secure to keep pests out, what's the implications of that for other places then?
I don't have the answer for that.
We need to ask someone at the council.
It's not just the cat. I think we need to ask someone at Luton Point, because it's also their building as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we can ask someone at the council of that. That is a fair thing.
Because they do the inspections, don't they?
They do the inspections. Environmental health, that word.
Sorry?
Stresses. I used to work in Wetherspoons for many years, and the word environmental health stresses you out no end, because you have to do so, especially when you work in management, or the stress. Anyway, so it just gives me heart palpitations every time I hear that word, environmental health.
It's like me when back in the day before I retired, Ofsted.
Yeah. Environmental health.
Yeah.
So with respect to
the EHL is coming. Yeah, the EHO is coming. The environmental health officer's coming.
Yeah. Oh my God, EHO. Oh, that word. Anyway, so with respect to TriLink at Luton Mall, the premises have been fully sealed to prevent any potential pest entry. Since these measures were implemented, there have been no further evidence of pest activity. And as the current director, I have prioritised strengthening our food safety and hygiene standards across all sites. All staff members have undergone retraining with an emphasis on cleanliness, cross-contamination prevention, which is really worrying, and pest control awareness. Additionally, pest control village visits have been increased from 3-month intervals to monthly scheduled interview intervals to ensure continuous monitoring and compliance.
Now, on the positives, they have got a food rating of
4 now.
4 out of 5 now,
Which is
good.
It is good. But yeah, Pink Eatery Limited, the company that run both TriLink and Pizza Link, was fined a total of £20,140 at Luton Magistrates Court on the 20th of January. And Saeed Hussein Raza Baraki, the director at the time, was also fined individually £1,036. Really quite a sweet story. You probably might have seen his face around the Arndale, the mall, or the Luton Point, whichever you use, though most people use the Arndale. You might have seen his face over the years. His name is Roy Greening. He has been at the mall since 2004. He started as an operations manager, I believe. I don't know what he's called now, what his title is, because he didn't really say. But anyway, after the 20 plus years, he's been there since 2004. So he's been there 22 years. He's due to retire soon from the mall, and he's hanging up his hat. He's seen it go through multiple name changes. The EDL, do you remember them? When they first started, he went through that period as well, because they always used to love doing their marches through Luton Town Centre, didn't they, and ruining the vibe for everyone.
All right.
Were you not around at that time? Were you just lucky you?
Well, maybe I was, but I didn't
maybe
know.
you were. So yeah, they he was around for that. He's been around for. In all fairness, the Arndale do quite a lot for the local community. They're quite heavily involved. They do things, to give an idea of how long he's worked there. Back when he started, Woolworths was still in the Arndale. That's how long ago it was. I remember Woolworths being there. So yeah, Laura McCuskey, she has been at the centre since 2016, and she's going to take over Roy's role in April when he retires. And she said that Roy has set an excellent example. While I've never compared myself to him, I'm committed to continuing his legacy and ensuring Luton Point, Luton Arndale, continues to be the best, very best that it can be. I think this is lovely. I think it's lovely that he's worked in Luton for this long. Lovely that he's been that involved in the community, and that he now gets to retire and spend time with his kids and grandkids.
Yeah, folks, Roy worked it out. He said, I worked it out. I've done about 11,500 days here. Oh, bless him. Sounds
That's
like
when you put it in context of how long you work at a job, because I think it's very different these days, because you think about it, I apologize when I say this, but in your generation, people stayed at employers for a very long time and they worked there for 20, 30 years. And there was always that commitment to stay with the employer. Whereas I think my generation and Gen Z, they are very much, we're not committed to employers. We will change our job once if we see a ceiling.
So what phrase did they use for those of us born in the 60s then?
I think you're Gen X, aren't you?
I'm Gen X.
Yeah, Gen X. Because you're not a baby boomer, but you're Gen. I'm getting a passionate nodding from elsewhere in the studio. So yes, Gen X.
Okay.
But
I have no idea what that means. Gen X. Why X?
I don't know, because why millennials? Why does it go? I don't understand why it goes Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, Gen Alpha.
I've never heard of Gen Alpha.
You not heard of Gen Alpha? No. That's the current kids these days. They're Gen Alpha.
Okay.
You're right. There you go. You've learned something new today.
All I get from the kids, sir, you're so old. That's what I get these days.
Right. So joining us now is Cheryl Prince, who's from 5D Theatre, who's going to talk about this amazing commission that they've got coming up soon. And she's actually got quite a few commissions coming up, so I'm sure she's got some very exciting stuff to tell us. But hi, Cheryl. So yeah, do you want to talk about your event that you've got coming up at St Mary's Church, because it sounds really exciting?
Yes, so I've got an event called Speak Low, Rise High, which is part of the Luton Associates Commission, and it's a really beautiful project, basically championing working class language, working class voices. And I've spent the last couple of months interviewing loads of Luton people and hearing their stories, hearing the legacy of Luton. I've interviewed quite a few people at Music 24 who are sort of the older generation about growing up in Luton here. My mum, her family, my connections. I was born in Luton. So there's kind of stories from my age bracket, the middle age bracket, and how Luton's changed, but also what the essence of people in Luton is about, which is kind of a very stand-up, make things happen culture, make things right, a nice, beautiful, feisty essence of Luton, which is what is kind of the heart of the story that I'll be telling. And alongside that, at the event at St Mary's Church, I'll be sharing some of my play, which is written in Canting, which predates Cockney, and it's a long lost working class language that many people don't know, have never heard before, and didn't realise that Cockney.
Sorry, Cheryl, just say that again. What is that? I've not heard of that. Just say that again.
No, it's a canting. Canting language, basically canting. To cant means to speak. Canting, yeah.
Right.
And basically it's a language made up by the so-called thieves and beggars of London, when really they mean the working class. And it predates Cockney. So Cockney comes from canting. So it actually moved through, and lots of the words are so birds of a feather and the rough jade and whimsical rogue and pot calls the kettle black. All you might have heard more of them from Cockney, but that actually comes from canting, which existed pre-Cockney. And I wrote, for my own sins, I wrote a play in it because I come from, my Cockney grandparents moved down to Luton. And so I grew up with the Cockney language, and so I kind of wanted to keep it alive. And as I was writing my play in the 17th century, someone said to me, do you know about the working class language of canting of that time period? And I said, no. And since then, since writing it and writing it in that language, it's been very important for me to get people to remember the beauty of working class languages and how effervescent and amazing that they are. And that kind of, yeah.
So I've got to ask you, what are some of the phrases then, Cheryl, that we use that this canting dialect then?
Yeah.
I'm all ears here. I've never heard this before.
I know, and so many people hadn't, and I hadn't when I came across it. So we have like loads of sayings. You must have heard like the pot calls the kettle black.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So that's canting. So that's where it comes from. And in fact, I'm a bit of a geek, so I have a whole, we're birds of a feather. Birds of a feather, we know that from
Sticks together.
That's canting originally. So that's come through canting to Cockney. There's actually loads. I've been sitting with a dictionary recently because I am that sad. I love a dictionary of
No,
language.
I don't think it's sad at all. I think if anything, it shows how passionate you are about these working class languages.
Yeah, and I actually made a dictionary of how many words are actually canting that we use today. And I'm sorry, I won't be able to remember them all. But if anyone wants to contact me about a canting dictionary, I'm happy to share. And I just thought, wow, we had no clue all of those came through and we're still using it today. And interestingly, because canting went into Cockney, I've been speaking to people about this, was not recognised as a language until 2023. Now, it was only thought of as an accent or a dialect, but Cockney is its own language. It's rhyming slang. It's up those apples and pears, trouble and strife, all of these old words.
Is it apple and pears? That's stairs, isn't it?
Yes,
apple and pears, stairs, isn't it?
Stairs, yes.
Yeah.
I will be sharing all of these Cockney sayings at the event as well to celebrate this language. But the fact that we've lost touch to working class languages is just really sad to me, because working class people made up these words. They made them up. And so they claimed language for themselves, and it still exists today. And we don't even realise or give reverence to where it came from and who made it up. So, yeah, part of this event is to champion the old stories of Luton, as well as where Luton is today, and lost working class languages, which I am so passionate about. I swallow dictionaries.
No, I think it's amazing. What kind of inspired you into particularly working with working class languages as opposed to just the English language in general?
Yeah, I think because it was mainly because I was writing a play. So my play, I'll just mention that because there's a second event and it's shown in both events, features a time when witch persecution was rife. So it's about that history. And that was about the 17th century, when loads of women and healers were getting killed for being witches. And so because I had this subject matter I had to talk about, because it's quite important to me and my ancestry, I was like, I've got to write about the 17th century. But for me, the 17th century is a time of Shakespeare, and it's a time of these, quite honestly, airs and graces and posh language that I'm not connected to. I mean, I'm an actor, but I'm going to say it really resonated with Shakespeare. And so at the same time, I thought, but what about the working class people? They spoke, what was their mannerisms, what they were like. And that's how I got introduced to canting. And someone said, yeah, the working class people spoke in canting. And I was like, what? No one talks about this. And then she said, go and have a little research. And I looked into it, and then I realized, oh, this predates Cockney. My grandparents are Cockney, so I love the Cockney language. And so it was a falling in love with it, just because I had to write in that language. And then as I wrote and continued it, it was more like, I think people need to know. I don't think these languages should die out. I mean, I can't go to a East End London theatre and hear a play in canting because people don't know it exists. So yeah, I kind of want to be that change.
I don't think either of us knew it existed until I've never heard of it before. So you've taught me something today, and it's fantastic to know. So obviously you've got a company called 5D Theatre. Do you want to talk a little bit about what 5D Theatre does?
Yes. So 5D, the D stands for dimensional. So I'm a bit of a multi-dimensional theatre maker, which means I want people to have a big experience in the room, have changed the way they think or change the way they experience something or sense something. And so the company's quite new, and I've been setting up it coming out of Luton and working a lot with Luton Arts, which is amazing. And I've been writing, I'm currently through about a trilogy of theatre plays at the moment.
Wow.
And my first. And so I've been writing for about 8 years on this one, and it's finally starting to move and shake and come to Luton in quite a special way, because I don't know, a lot of Luton people don't seem to know about Luton Henge either. Do you both know about Luton Henge?
I've been to Luton Henge. I was there at the opening. I live around the corner for it.
I've not been, but obviously I know.
It's really nice, and I think it's great. So do you want to talk a little bit about, I know you've got an event, sorry, I know way too much more than I should about what you're doing. I know you've got an event coming up at Luton Henge.
Yeah, it's another thing I like to shout about, because I work as a healer as well as a theatre maker. So I'm a big fan of sacred sites and energy lines. So energy lines are said to go through our earth, and they're usually where sacred sites are. And there's a big sacred site right next door to Luton Henge, which is called Warlord's Bank. So if you look anything up about that, it's meant to have these ley lines go through it. And it was a big site of ritual. In fact, some even say there's been sacrificial remains underneath the ground in Warlord's Bank. I was reading about in Luton. So God knows what went on there, but a lot of stuff went on there. And so I was very interested in the ley lines of Luton, and I went and I was searching for them and going to have a look. And then, what do you know, up pops this henge, which is the community built chalkstone circle that Revolution Arts commissioned to happen. And it opened last year, and I actually did a big community drumming circle to open it very early in the morning when not many people wanted to turn up.
Yeah.
And so since then, we've been in conversations. There's the Luton Henge Collective, where people talk about what they want to happen on the space. And I've been in conversation with them for a long time. And I was like, this is an amphitheatre. This is an outside theatre ground, which it's a great space for. And luckily for me, Revolution Arts felt the same. And they were like, right, we'll commission you to put part of the play, my play, on there. And there's about 20 minutes of my play, Awaken, that's outside in the woods. And I've basically adapted it to fit that it's outside in the henge. So it's going to be a really beautiful first time theatrical sharing on that land, March the 8th for International Women's Day, because so many women in our past were killed for being witches. And it felt like a really good day to honour that on the henge and sort of bring a bit more information about that. So as the stars aligned, I'm bringing it to the henge, which I love, because I think it's an amazing space that everyone should visit, whether they want to see theatre on it or just come and enjoy the space, because it's built by the community for the community. So yeah, it's amazing.
No, I definitely think it's great that we're using that space more, because I remember when it first came and it felt like they had this big event and then nothing happened afterwards. And I was like, oh no, I don't want it to be one of those things where it's like this amazing place and it just falls to the wayside and people don't use it, because it is such a beautiful space. And like you said, it is like an amphitheatre because it has that dip in the... They had a band set up there on the day, or like the stage set there on the day when they had the opening. So yeah, on Speak Low, Rise High, where can people get tickets? Because obviously this is not, it's next weekend, isn't it? 20th of Feb on Friday.
20th of Feb, yes. So it's a free event, and it's all through Revolution Arts website. I have, so basically Speak Low, Rise High, which is on, it should be on their front page at the moment. And so you just go in there and you can sign up, and just come along to the event. If anybody, because I've been working with quite a few of the older community and they don't like QR codes or email lists or signing up, then they can also just come to the event and just say on the name where you heard it, i.e. Music 24 will be saying Music 24. You can say Inspire FM if you want to come down and you don't want to have to sign up. So you can, come along, and there'll be someone on the door and just say, Speak Low, Rise High, I heard about it from Inspire FM, can I come in? But otherwise, if you do like online, I'm just trying to be very, different people like QR codes and they don't like them or they can't find things online, then you could just say Inspire FM and come along there. Perfect.
What is your hope from this play? What would you like to see this play do?
So I think because... should I address two things, my play and this event, because there's kind of two different things. I just want to say about the event Speak Low, Rise High first, because I've been speaking to Luton people, and I don't know whether people know there's a campaign about No Hate Luton as well that the council are running to try and bring awareness about the great things of Luton. And I think because part of this event is celebrating the voices of Luton that are getting lost or not getting heard, I think my big hope for the event is that people come and share their own Luton stories, and that we amplify the voice that Luton is a great place to live. And actually, it's got such a stigma, it's got such a reputation, and actually it's for the people in Luton to speak about what Luton really is, not from people outside that don't know Luton. So I think my big hope is that it gets people to start talking and celebrating their own hometown. And then hopefully in the future, I don't know, it'd be lovely to make a bigger event out of what I've managed to do in the past couple of months, that there's more stories shared and that there's a bigger theatre piece about Luton in particular. That would be a big dream. But for Awaken, as a Luton born and now my theatre's based here, theatre maker, I'd like to see a bit of a change in the culture and what's available in Luton. I've been speaking a lot to people over the past couple of years saying, how do we make theatre here? You know, there's not producer houses, or there hasn't been lots of opportunities for working class theatre makers to make their work here. And so I'm very grateful because Revolut and Arts have been about that change, commissioning me and helping me to make that. But I think it's really important that the cultural landscape in Luton changes and that we celebrate the talent that we have here, the people that we have here, and the lands and the interesting spaces and places. So my big hope is to have more theatre here, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I should be at Luton Library Theatre by the end of the year with the full version of the play. I'm just waiting on a few funding decisions and then I can say, yes, it's happening. So yeah, I think, it's about making Luton great and recognisable and put it on the map for everything that it is.
No, thank you so much, Cheryl, for taking the time to talk to us today. It's fantastic to see people as passionate about theatre actually in Luton and wanting the art scene to be more, because something that I want to do at the minute is like bring the art scene back out again, because it feels very flat at the minute and it still feels very flat. So it's great to hear from people that are passionate about it and want to bring Luton back to what it was.
Yeah.
So thank you so much, Cheryl. And if you do want to come down on the 20th of Feb, it's Friday, 7 p.m. till 9 p.m. for Speak Low, Rise High, then you can just either sign up online on the Revolut and Arts website, or you can just go and tell them Inspire FM sent you.
And remember, folks, that's at St Mary's Church
in Luton Town Centre.
Mary's Church, yes, yeah. And then obviously the second event is at Luton Henge, so come and check out on the 8th, also on Revolut Arts site.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Nice
It's great
Thank
to see
you.
All the best.
Nice to meet
Bye-bye,
you. Bye. So that's all for today's show, but join us again next week. We can find out all the latest news from Luton, as well as art, culture and events. You can go and have some fun. But until then, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, folks. Have a good week.